Collective, welcome. I'm Nikki, your local vegan terrorist. Okay, so the movie that we're gonna do today is Words and Pictures, story time. All right, and channeled messages. Last night was pretty rough, pun intended, because I was dealing with a injured dog, Jack, my little boy, my only boy. We went to a new park. Everybody was walking. He was the first one that I did the loop around with. And by the time I came back, I was like, good job, everybody. And when I went to kind of scruffle his face, he yipped. And so we had something, I'm thinking, based on the remedies and everything and how he's improved, that he got something stuck in the back of his throat or his jaw area here and there. And it came on very quick. He wouldn't let me open his mouth. He wouldn't let me look at it without yipping. And so that was very challenging because I was like, I can't even see what's going on. It started to swell and he started to drool. And fortunately I was able to take him to a friend's house and give him a warm bath. So, because the next step was I was going to take him to the emergency vet, which was like, there were a lot of pressures with that as well. And so I gave him a bath and I was able to flush it out in the warm water, just putting the shower head here. They had like a detachable shower head. I was able to put it here and it kind of like massaged, and then I was able to flush it out. And then his temperament totally changed. He let me open his mouth. He let me look back there. I didn't see anything. So, today he's able to touch it or whatever, but he didn't eat his dinner, which is not like Jack. I was able to give him some coconut oil, and today I'm going to give him I had some soft food that I'm going to give him, but I put apple cider vinegar in his food or whatever. So he had a little bit of that, and then he had the coconut oil, and I think that those combination of things flush it out. I'm thinking that it like punctured or gave him an abrasion or something, because his face is like, there's still a little bit of swelling, like not anything like it was, but I can tell that there's a difference or whatever. But his temperament is totally changed, and he is acting like Jack acts when he's hungry. So I'm really excited about that, because I lost 2 Aprils ago. I lost my familiar, and Jack is his little spawn, and so yeah, that was like, I can't take this. This is not something that I am prepared for. So excuse me, I am very stuffed up, and it was not the best sleep or whatever, obviously, and there were night terrors, and someone was trying to attack, in my dream, someone was trying to attack Sable, my biggest one, Sable. She's like, I don't want to be on the camera right now. Any other time, if I didn't want her to be on camera, or if I was like, I can't see through you, she'd be right there, because that's how she is. So Gemini is Jack's sign and Libra is Sable's sign. Now, Sable looked like, in the dream, she didn't look like Sable looks. She's a Catahoula mix. And this dog was like a Labradoodle, like a tall, like cinnamon colored Labradoodle. And I was like, and that's when I woke up, because, I realized like that wasn't her and that it was a dream. So I don't know, maybe somebody is honing their skills of lucid dreaming or astral travel. You could be returning to that after a period of sobriety. So within story time, that is something that I've come back to through my sobriety. And I started to, as a child I did, but then when I would tell people about it, and then I was hanging out with celestial beings, they were like, oh, you're cute, you got a great imagination. And I was just like, okay. And then I could tell it freaked some people out when I would talk to spirits and I would talk to those who had passed on. And so because I could see the fear or the confusion in their eyes as a young child, I was just like, well, maybe something's wrong with me. And so I kind of muted that, and then drugs, alcohol, and everything that took me away from myself. I obviously was not able to have autonomy over my and have power over my abilities for dream work. And then during deployment, I spent a year in Afghanistan, and we were obviously, although some people didn't, some people found loopholes, but that was like my first year of true sobriety, because I had stopped smoking or doing other things for drug tests for work or whatever, but because alcohol is legal, but it's a horrible, horrible thing. It's just like pulls us so far away from ourselves. It interrupts our intuition and our dream work, and it's a depressant, and so it does all of those things very effectively. But as an introvert who didn't know they were an introvert, alcohol gave me that extroversion that got me feedback that I was valuable. And then it also led into other addictions, sex addiction, things like that, right? Codependency and other things. So it facilitated a lot of other things that were very low vibrational. So I was very far from myself for a long time. And then during deployment, I was sober, and that's where I kind of returned to God, my God, spirituality. It was the first snow, and there was no light pollution, mountains all around. I mean, we were way up there and out in the middle of nowhere. And that type of silence is so divine, it's indescribable. You know, when they say go to the mountain, you hear the voice of God, I knew what they were talking about. It clicked for me. And for about 2 years before that, I was acclaimed atheist. And I went to Wiccan. I went to like Wiccan church, which was strange that they offered that in the military, but they did. So I kind of explored that. And, you know, growing up, going to different churches, trying to explore that, being raised by a mother who was raised Catholic, but was not a practicing Catholic, and used alcohol. She did not, but not until later. She used religion, and she used Jesus as a fear-mongering tactic. So I was like, that's not Jesus. That's not the Jesus I know. All right, because my godparents instilled, my fairy godparents instilled like a very Christ consciousness, unconditional love in me, and made like a very nice space for that. The first song I remember was Jesus Loves Me, This I Know. So there was a big coming apart from myself and then returning to myself in that moment. And then I realized, oh, this is what God is. It's not in any church. It's not in any book. It's here. And the nomenclature, we're all talking, if you look at all religions, cultures that practice them, if you look at the truth of them, we're all talking about the same thing with different nomenclature, okay? So maybe somebody is under spiritual attack, but if you've come out of alignment with your spirituality, that spiritual attack may look different. It may look like a sick dog, and it will look like that even when you are aligned with your spirituality, but you understand that that's what it is. It may look like a negative bank account. It may look like friends or family members behaving in a way or treating you in a way or pulling away. There's something about away. And then returning to yourself. So that was the first moment where I kind of connected the dots, and I was always fascinated with sobriety growing up around addiction and recovery, and just seeing that like that was interesting to me. It was always fascinating to me. So it was always part of my path, as it always is, you know, like once you realize your path, you're like, oh yeah, this is why I put myself here. And it's usually woven into whatever your greatest challenges are. So veganism actually it started my I became vegan. I was vegetarian off and on for about 10 years, mostly on, and then, you know, based on other things, which I can get into, like my vegan journey in another video if anyone is interested in that. But veganism really led the way to other forms of sobriety, and people might be like, what does that have to do with sobriety? Well, it's all hormones, honey. Like all addictions, all of it, we are all hormones, not just women once a month, okay? All of us, we all run on hormones. Our endocrine system, all of our responses in the bodily systems are hormonal. So when you are consuming animal hormones, what do you think is going to happen, right? When you're consuming dairy that's full of casomorphine, right? Well, it's casein, it's a protein that metabolizes as a morphine. So this whole extra cheese thing, it's truly addiction, okay? It's truly addiction. And if you say it's not, try going without it for a week or a month or a day. And you'll see. So anyway, I became out of morality, I became vegan, and then it just started to click. All of these thoughts that I just said there, all of these things just kind of clicked into place. And then now I'm 6 years sober from alcohol, and here we are. And since then, I have really been able to tap back into my astral travel, lucid dreaming. It's not as natural to me as when I was younger, because I still have years of pulling away from myself. Okay, so we're gonna get into the movie. So I'll give you a rundown. The movie is Words and Pictures. So we're at 11:40. So I'm trying to make timestamps here because I do not edit my videos, and I just sort of let them run. And so we're gonna start at 11:55. All right. All right. So Words and Pictures is a romantic comedy, little bit of a romantic dramedy, and it was released in 2013. All right. So the main characters that we're gonna talk about, and when I started annotating this, it was 11/11. All right. So Juliette Binoche, her name in the movie is Dina Del Santo. Well, Juliette Binoche's birthday is March 9th. She is obviously a Pisces. All right. Clive Owen, his name is Jack Marcus. All right. So maybe these names mean something to you, some arrangement of them. The initials could mean something to you, or the signs could mean something to you. His birthday is October 3rd, Libra. All right. Bruce Davison, not David, Davison. His name is Walt. Now, what I see in the dynamic of this film is he's kind of like the overseer. He's always watching these two, and he kind of sees that they are like, there's something there. And his birthday is June 28th, so he's a Cancer. All right. Now, in this movie, I'm just going to refer to them by their character names, okay? Because in the last reading, I was like jumping back and forth and like saying the actors and the actors. So Dina, all right, the Pisces, and Jack, the Libra. He is a literature. They're in like a private high school, and he's the literature honors, all right, like English honors, and she is art honors. Okay, she comes in to this school, and he is an alcoholic. He's in denial about it. He's an alcoholic. He's burned a lot of bridges, workplace dynamics where, he slept with one of his superiors. They slept together, and so there's tension around that. And she comes in, they open it with him being called into the office. He's going to the principal's office. And they're basically like, your job's in jeopardy. He writes this school paper. It's a magazine. And he's a writer. And so like he's kind of riding on the coattails of his own fame from something he wrote a while ago. And it's like he hasn't really done anything since. His morale has come down. He's not as engaged. He's not as proactive. That's what alcoholism will do to you, or any kind of substance abuse or depression will do to you. He has a son, and so yeah, he's embarrassed himself. He's burned bridges everywhere. He's kind of like, a hooligan. But he plays this game where he says a 5-syllable word, and it starts with an A, and then he challenged everybody else to, okay, well, now you got to come back with one that's 5 syllables that starts with a B, and then so on and so forth. So it's like, see how far you can get or whatever. And so it's a syllable game, and it's a word game, and it's a little bit pompous because, he is like always the smartest guy in the room, right? He knows the best or whatever. So of course he's got to be knocked down and humbled, right? And enters the renowned Ice Queen. Like, so she comes in. So that is like Queen of Swords energies. Even though she's a Pisces, she's like in this Queen of Swords energy. She comes in. She has rheumatoid arthritis. So her painting has been sacrificed. I mean, she's unable to paint because of the pain. Her sister helps her, but she's very isolated, and she's angry. She's mad as hell. Like, she's mad as hell that, like, this very thing that she was passionate about and she was known for. So both of them have a little bit of ego, arrogance, and that kind of play. So it's like their identity is sort of crumbling. Excuse me. His is of substance abuse. Hers is of her physical body, right? This illness that's taking over her. And it puts her in a lot of pain. So if you are someone who deals with chronic pain, it doesn't put you in the best place. And when you are someone who is, has any sort of substance abuse, you're never in the best place. Like, you are never your highest self. You may feel like it at first because you're like, woo, I'm the life of the party, or yeah, this feels great, or whatever the first hook is. That only lasts so long, right? Excuse me, I'm gonna drink a little bit of water. All right. So she comes in and she's like, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Words are traps. And he's like, what? And it fuels him. And he shouts at the class when they're telling him, oh yeah, Miss Del Santo said, words are traps. And he's like, war, and he spooks all the kids, but it ignites the class. Like, these kids are just like, they're in school, they're in high school, they're like, some of them are interested, but maybe you were a kid that was like, this just ain't it. School is just not the thing. And so this like twin flame process of these two that are here to challenge each other's egos, right? Because that's what twin flames will do. They'll challenge your ego. Karmic twins or false twins will challenge your spirit, right? And that's where we have our darkest night of the soul, because it breaks down the spirit. It pulls us away from ourselves. I'm just going to keep muscling through this, okay? So let me just pause and see. 1818. Okay. I just did a very aggressive throat clearing, so we'll see. All right. So this like feud really gets them going, and it gets the kids ignited, and it's like this whole, that's what a twin flame connection will do. It will ignite those around you. And all the while, this Walt character, who's a Cancer, right? Cancers are very intuitive, for better or for worse. They just feel everything. And so he's kind of watching this whole thing. And he's like this older, gray-haired guy. So there could be some sort of like patriarchal figure or some sort of like older mentor that's watching this. And you may share the same one. You may have like a mutual friend or somebody who's kind of like, would y'all just get over yourselves and like get a room, get together already, get married, get a chapel. And so this is ignited and they challenge each other. All right. And he steals a poem from his son and he puts it in the paper to save his job and mostly to save his ego. Right. But he does that, and it's like this beautiful poem, and that ignites her because she's someone who's like pictures, and he's words, right? And so she reads this poem and it inspires her, and that's like a subject in their class or a prompt in their class. You're going to paint what you feel, because she's trying to get these kids to feel, you know, when they're just like doing basic shit. She's like, nah. And she sees this one girl, and I didn't write down her information, but she sees this one girl, and I think she is I don't know. I don't want to say. She might be Korean. There's some part where, well, maybe she's Chinese. Anyway, I don't want to say Asian because that's just such a generalized thing. It's like Asia's kind of a big place. But one of the kids who ends up getting expelled later because he is a predator. He's like, oh, it's that geisha walk, and you're such an exotic beauty, and he's like always taunting this poor girl, and she's very sweet and introverted, and she's an artist. Like she's the main character in that class with Del Santo, with Dina, with the Pisces. She is, because she's got the thing for art, you know. And so, you know, and he's over here with these kids who are just like, words are boring, and she's over here with these kids that are just uninspired, and she's trying to activate feeling, which is ironic because of course she is like guarded with her own feelings, and he's not inspired because he's not writing, he's stealing poems from his son. So it's like this dynamic of these two people who are like having an internal falling out and falling away from themselves, but through healing others, through maybe working with children, working with animals, right? When you do like, you know, back to a little bit of story time, because this is going to be included in like the story time and channel messages, where, you know, when I got out of the military and everything, like I lost a lot of purpose, and then I also had multiple pregnancy losses, and I went through equine therapy. The VA started offering these, something about Connecticut, perhaps. I was in Connecticut, and the VA there started offering these alternative therapies. So I was doing acupuncture, and then I went to equine therapy. And through working with a horse that was not able to be bred, he was discarded because he was not able to be bred. And he was really ornery. He was a nipper, and of course he's like the underdog, and I love those. And so he was like this ornery little shit, and he was too small to breed, so they discarded him. And I was able to tap into a lot of grief there, that I had not accessed. So oftentimes, every time that you work with others and you're helping others to heal, you tap into the stuff that you need to work through, right? And so that's what they do. And then, you know, he starts to realize through working with these kids, and his favorite student is the predator, and her favorite student is the girl that is the victim of this predator, which I didn't come into that being an element here, so I did not write down their signs. I was just focused on more like the twin flame process. So anywho, but if you look, you can look for yourself, and maybe there's something there. It's a really clever film. It's very sapiosexual because it's a lot of intellectual wordplay. You know, and these are older people that are not, I mean, they're both beautiful people. I mean, Clive Owens and Julia Binoche are both beautiful people. But they're not like the typical rom-com standard of the way that people look. You know, she walks with a cane and stuff. Like she's got short hair. You know, she's in like a very masculine, abrasive, guarded energy. And, you know, and he's in this, you know, he's kind of a mess, you know, so that usually works anyway. Like the girl being rigid and the guy being like kind of like the bad boy mess or whatever. But this dynamic it's unique. I find it unique. So maybe there's something in the film for you. So we're going to move over to the cards. 24. Moving over to the tarot. And see how that correlates with the channel messages in the film. Excuse me. I'm not gonna stop. Ain't gonna stop. Can't stop, won't stop. good. I have coffee today, and it is good. All right. Collective. I don't know if we're going to use all of these here. We'll see. We're at 25. We're going to work to streamline these readings, and then I am developing a new format for videos, which I will talk about when that comes about. So we've got the Star, Aquarius energy, healing, and judgment, self-judgment. If you're blocking yourself from healing because of self-judgment, that's self-flogging, right? You're not gonna get anywhere with that. 8 of Wands, and the 4 of Swords. So that's going in a brand new direction, and that new direction doesn't feel, it feels more passive. It feels like let things come to you with the 4 of Swords. King of Wands. So feminines, the masculine is coming to you. You might be in a cycle of being in your more masculine energy, feminines, where you pursue masculines. And now in this world, okay, that's a great song by Moby, who's also like an OG vegan, so holla out to Moby. Lordy, don't leave me all by myself. All by myself. And that's also in another movie, The Skeleton Key. Okay, so this morning I was dropping my key fob over and over for my van, which is named Aries, right? So Aries could be important here, but I kept dropping it, like to the point where I was just like, mother, like it was like, come on. I like went to hang it up on a hook, it fell. I went to put it in my pocket, it fell. It was just like, okay, what's going on here? Well, they say communication is key, all right? And this whole movie theme is about words and pictures, and how do we communicate, right? Cave paintings to grunting and developing language, right? How do we communicate? So communication is a big key here, and lack of communication is probably what's interfering with it. So we're going to read for the feminine first. These cards are very cold. Okay, we've got the 6 of Wands. Self-recognition, validation, admiration, support. So you could be in that masculine energy because you have never received this, feminines. You might not have had support. These people see your value, so you could be working on something where you're going to be in the spotlight, where you're going to be admired, and that's you coming into your own, coming into your authentic self. All right, and the 8 of Swords. So what's stopping you, feminines? That's too much. No, it's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. What's stopping you? 8 of Cups. Fear of walking away from something that's emotionally dissatisfying. Could be a job, could be a relationship, could be an old pattern, could be alcohol, right? Because that is a common theme here, and there's all these cups here, right? Which alcohol represents depression. All right, it represents numbing of the emotions. Let's see what this masculine is doing here. Okay, what you doing, masculine? And the 8 of Swords and the 8 of Cups. Yeah, this feminine might be wanting to walk away and like just choose themselves, and the masculine's like, because there's a lack of communication. Yep, 4 of Swords. Someone's just sitting there. Aquarius again, and the Devil. Well, simply put, yeah, maybe the masculine is struggling with some sort of attachment. Could be to substance, could be to fear, right? The Devil here, look how shiny he is. It's like Tinkerbell. That is not a fairy, that is a sprite. Okay, there's a difference. This little sucker is terrified of their truth. And their truth may be, I'm not all that I thought I was. This could be someone who oversold themselves. Like, I'm not all I thought I was. I'm not all I was cracked myself up to be, right? This is a masculine who needs to be humbled. And the feminine might just be like, look, I can't deal with this. Like, I can't, this is not healthy. And I don't want to be in this codependent push, pull, runner, chaser thing. And I'm not going to chase you down. I'm not going to pursue you because that puts me into my masculine energy. And when a feminine is in their masculine energy, they are in a lower frequency. They are not on a divine frequency. Okay? If they're fully in their masculine, if they're pursuing, if they're in constant active energy, right? Feminine energy is passive. It receives. It is pursued. That's just energy, y'all. Okay? 6 of Wands and the 4 of Swords. Somebody is in this Aquarius Virgo energy of healing. This masculine feels like maybe the feminine did walk away, or they can feel that the feminine's about to, and so they're like, okay, I need to sit with this. I need to meditate and figure out like what I need to do. This represents rest, rejuvenation, thoughtfulness. So maybe this masculine acted in a thoughtless way. All right, in words and pictures. In the movie, Dina is finally painting, and she's an oil painter, right? Which takes a long time to dry. So she's got this oil painting up, and it's huge. It's a huge canvas, and she finally gets like a process where she's using the chair. She uses this pulley system. Like she's got her studios like set up with different things, and she starts to get really creative because her creative juices start flowing by this war, right? And I found peace in a literal war zone, okay? This is like 2 people finding peace in war, right? This is like sitting here when all the chaos is going on around you and finding that serenity in the chaos without engaging with the chaos. And so she's finally getting this painting, and it's beautiful, and it's like this sort of like sky thing or whatever. I mean, it's fine art or whatever, so to me it's kind of like, whatever speaks to you. I saw some other paintings that she did that she's not happy with, and I'm like, those are fucking cool. So it's like, it's all subjective anyway. But for her, it's like, as an artist, she is finally feeling satisfied with her work. She's feeling like accomplished again. Like, I can still do this. This isn't lost. This isn't a lost art, so to speak. And this guy comes over. They sleep together. And one of my favorite scenes is, as somebody who's I have degenerative arthritis, and I struggle with a lot of chronic pain as well, from that, nerve damage, other things. And she tells him, you're gonna have to be careful with me, and he was like, oh, are you a virgin? Because he's always making sarcastic jokes. She's like, my body. And he's like, okay, you tell me. And it's this very sweet moment where it's like, it's true to, like, it's not this like frenzied, we're just having this hot passionate sex and it's like up against stuff. Like, it can still be done. There are just accommodations that have to be made. You have to be patient, and you have to be kind in a way that's like not as devil may care, right? The devil may care, but the devil doesn't know how to care anyway. But that freaks him out because he's like, oh, now I'm feeling something, and I'm sober, and I'm feeling something. So he gets a bottle of vodka from her freezer, because he sees what she paints. She does like a sketch or whatever to his poem, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, it's not his poem, it's his son's poem. So he's like, I oversold myself, I lied, there could be deception here in how this masculine presented themselves. And he's like, she's not even inspired by me, she's inspired by my son, I'm a fraud. And so what does he do? He gets a bottle of vodka, and he falls in his drunken stupor on her painting and smears it. And then he wakes up from his drunken stupor, and he sees her, and she's sitting there, and she's crying, and she's like heartbroken, because not only did he ruin something that brought her a lot of hope for herself and her own journey and her own, art, and how artists express themselves it's woven into their spirituality. It comes from a spiritual place. So it's like this spiritual, like, oh, I thought I was onto something. I thought I was doing the right thing. And then, the canvas is literally all smeared and muddied. And something they were trying to create, she was trying to create and it was from like their co-creative process of like sparking each other in this like fury frenzy in this warfare. It's like it was very good and inspiring, and all that inspiration is lost, and he's drunk and he's broken her heart, and he's just operating at a very low level in selfishness, instead of just being honest or whatever. Well, he does tell her. Actually, he gets drunk and he goes and he wakes her up, and she's like, "You're drunk. Go lay down on the couch. Like, go away from me." Because he does tell her that he stole the poem or whatever. And she's like, I'm, like she's sad for him. He was like, oh, she looks at him in a way. So maybe this feminine reacted to, maybe this masculine comes out with the truth, and the feminine looks at them or says something to them that really cuts deep. And so what does the masculine do? Goes into not just self-destructive mode. He's already there, but he goes into external destruction, right? And it's not he's not intentionally going and doing this to her painting, but it's like in the way that he is, because he's so self-centered and so focused on his ego. And God forbid you humble yourself and clean up your act, man. Well, spoiler, he does. And then they have this like seminar or whatever where he ends up honoring her. So there could be some sort of like public profession of this love or this respect, because it's like he humbles himself in front of everybody, and he gives her this a literal speech, but it's like this speech to honor how much she has influenced him, and that he was wrong, and words are actually limiting, right? And that art is like beyond that, which writing is art as well, right? You could be a songwriter, you could be a novelist, right? That is a form of art as well. But we're talking words and pictures here. So it's like her form of communicating to the world, he finds is actually, he discovers after all of this that she is actually onto something and that he doesn't know everything, and that his methods are clearly not working for him, and then he makes amends with his son, and that fucking his favorite kid, like that prompts a lot of his growth, because he sees this kid that's like his favorite kid in the class. It's like his buddy, and he ends up being a predator, and in a way he's sort of a predator of joy and innocence and artistic expression, because that's what it is. He's just like aimlessly just, like a bull in a china shop. Maybe Taurus is at play here. And he just barrels through the people and the environments around him in a way that he just disregards them. He disregarded his son. He disregarded the people at this place, where he, it's called the something, is it Cronin? Anyway, there's a name for it. It's like this local, like, uppity bar or whatever, because this is like a private school, so these are like people with money and stuff. Like they, so they've got like, more money, more problems, I guess. But this is like their local spot, their local watering hole, but it's like a little pinky up, I guess. And they just they kicked him out because they kicked him out twice, actually. It starts with them being like, you got kicked out. So he makes amends with them, and then he goes back and he shows his ass. Not literally, but, he's falling off a stool and he's getting belligerent and mocking the bartenders and the staff and everything. So it's like he's just in this cycle of like barreling through his life aimlessly in a way that's not conducive to growth. And he's ruining the best thing in his life, his relationship with his son, now this love with Del Santo, with Dina. He calls her Del Santo because she says her first name, and he was like, nah, I'm not going to call you that. So maybe maybe somebody's in the military, and you go by your last name. Maybe somebody calls you by your last name, or you go by your last name, okay? And then we have the Star with the 8 of Swords. Yeah, it's like the feminine's just like, no, like I can't deal with this. I have to focus on my healing. But by the feminine pulling away, by them expressing that being around you is not fun for me. It's detrimental to my health. It's detrimental to my work. It's detrimental to my peace, most importantly, because this is like a lack of peace, and it messes with their intuition. Right? Because you can tell in the movie, Dina is like, why did I fall for this guy? Why did I just give him my body? And so, yeah, maybe you have been intimate with this person physically, or there's been some sort of intimate time shared. Maybe something about a timeshare. Anyway. And so it's prompting, the masculine is prompted from the Devil to the 4 of Swords and the Star here. So very, like, this tower, this feminine is a tower. And that's what you have to realize sometimes, is like, she's up in this tower thinking like, this is my tower, which is very confusing if you do that, because you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why? The whys don't matter. But you are oftentimes somebody else's tower. And in those moments where you're somebody else's tower, you can ask why all day long. You'll never get an answer. It won't make sense to you because it's not for you. Sometimes we are here, we are put in other people's path for their growth, right? It's not all about you. There's a lot of ego play here. All right, we're going to read from the Van Gogh, right, which is apropos, and we get the Chariot at the bottom, Cancer energy. King of Wands. That's an active masculine who comes in to pursue. He goes after what he wants. Yep, the Devil. Capricorn energy. The Lovers. Knight of Wands. And the Fool. Okay, these major arcana are wonderful. We've got Gemini, Aquarius, Aries, fire sign masculines, cardinal sign masculines, the Devil, all right, which is Capricorn, and the Knight of Wands. There's a lot of fire energy here, right? This is a masculine going from this inactive, like drowning in their water elements, like maybe they were acting out of their water placements, and out of this just not proactive energy. They're just sort of like, this is like a masculine who wants things to come to them. All right, this could be someone who's very attractive and they're used to things coming to them, right? And so here we finally have two people. The Fool is taking a leap of faith, and to be the Fool, you have to humble yourself to the idea of the risk of being made a fool of. That's what love is. That's what life is. That's what love is, though. It is just taking that leap of faith and going, you know what? Jesus, take the wheel. Like, I can't control the outcome, and there may be a fear of rejection, right? With the Devil coming out, there's fear here, and doubt. Maybe this person, and maybe the feminine will not take you back. I mean, considering we're here, I can tell you, spoiler, they're gonna take you back. Depending on what you've done. Like, only you know if you're a divine masculine or divine feminine. Only you know if you're operating on that frequency, and if you've made the amends, if you've done the work, if you changed the behavior. That's the only way to apologize, to truly, the only sorry that counts, the only apology that is acceptable is change behavior, right? So we have these lovers here, which they are playing together. They're creating together. Look at them. They're like making gold out of thin air, thick air, which I feel like it's thick air just because I do feel like this conversation is this communication these words are going to be kind of heavy. So I do feel like there's a lot of weight to them. It's going to be very heavy. It's going to be a profession of love. It's probably going to have an apology with it. We have the Knight of Wands, though, so it's like, see, the Knight of Wands is the fastest moving knight. But see, their sword is down. They're not, when you have a wand, you're alchemizing something. You have an expectation because you kind of like know what's going to happen, right? When you point a wand at something and you say Expelliarmus or whatever your spell is, you know what it's going to do. It's not like you say Expelliarmus and Expecto Patronum comes out, right? I don't want to veer into too many other movie spheres, but maybe Harry Potter. But the Knight of Wands here has a sword, and that's the communication. So it is, and his sword is down. He's got his guards up. He does have his armor on. So this is kind of this could be a fire sign masculine that's coming in humbly. Like, look at even their chariot, their horse here, which is, we're in the year of the horse, but even their horse is armored up, which is like, oh, or are they not? No, I think that's just the way that it is. Well, I saw armor, which tells me like their heart space, like they've got a little bit of guard up on their heart space here. And that's in the past energy. Like if your sword is down, you're not communicating and you're guarded, like that's not productive. So we've got the King of Wands and the Devil here in like this energy of conquering that fear. I'm trying to see what card this is here. That the Devil is standing on. Maybe you can see it. Which is 515, right? Or 555, it's like maybe 515 is important. But if it's that way, so was that 14? Or is that 9? What is that? I don't know. I'm put on the spot, so I'm like testing anxiety through the roof. I don't know what that is. And maybe that's kind of indicative of this devil energy going, you know what? I'm activating, instead of out of, there's something about Saturn return, your Saturn placements, maybe Capricorn placements, you might have some kind of, what the heck is going on here? I just got very hot all of a sudden. Like, there's a lot of fear here that has to be obliterated. It has to be burned up. Somebody could be doing some sort of fire magic to transmute. They could be burning something that's transmuting. Like maybe you are making a list of your fears, and if you do write down your fears and then burn them, if you have any names in there, or even like if you're like, I am afraid of this, make sure you circle make sure you circle the person's name. I am afraid my feminine, circle my feminine, right? Because you want to protect them when you are, so you're transmuting the fear. You're not burning the individual, right? Because that influences them, and that's a form of black magic, okay? So there's just a little tip there, just in case somebody was wondering. Because I do feel like somebody could be doing some sort of alchemy on maybe the full moon, April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, all right? It's Aries energy with the Fool here. And that is like, maybe something's going to happen where you're like, I'm doing it. I'm going for it. I'm going to say what I got to say. Say what you need to say. And then the Lovers. So the Fool is taking a leap of faith toward this, and it's like, I think your outcome is going to be so much better than you thought. And at the end, they, he was like, ooh, that's interesting. I don't know when that happened, but I have this little rosary that's been around my gear shifter, and it broke. And my bracelet, I have this copper bracelet, and it keeps falling off, like the clasp just comes undone. I've tightened it and it keeps falling off. So there's something about like maybe jewelry breaking. Going on faith. That's interesting. I'll have to sit with that for my own purposes, but that could mean something to you. But usually whenever a piece of jewelry breaks, it's like, especially jewelry that is in a loop, it's like that cycle is broken. And we tend to want to repair it because we like it. We like the way that it looks. It's whatever. But sometimes it's best to just bury the object. All right. Do a ceremony, bury the object, lay it to rest, thank it for its time in your life. But especially if like a necklace or like prayer beads, like your mala beads or whatever, if those break, they have served their purpose. Okay. They have served their time with you. And we as people, we want to like hold on to that because we like the piece or whatever, but it's like the power is not in the instrument. Okay, just like with the art, the power is not in the medium, the power is in the person. Like we are the creators. So it's like if maybe something keeps breaking or you keep losing it or something, and it's like maybe that's representative of that cycle is over. Yeah, so at the end, he's like, she says something, and he goes, "You ice cold, mean bitch." And she goes, you drunken, art ruining bastard. And then they laugh hysterically, and then they just kind of like embrace, and it's like, everything's gonna be okay. Like they're getting real with each other. Like, yeah, we have these things, but there's such a sweetness in there. So yeah, maybe there's a lot of wordplay between you and your person. Maybe you do kind of like talk shit to each other. As a veteran, as you, that's what you do. Like, that's how you show you love people sometimes. That's how I talk to my dogs. Like, that's just kind of something that I do in particular that, personally I can relate to that, where it's like you talk shit to each other, and in that that you're cool because and Walt, the overseer, the mentor of these two in the movie, she's like, is he insane? Because he's playing that word game. And she's like, is he insane? And he's like, it means he likes you, Del Santo. God help you. He's become fixated on her because he likes her. And there's another part where she's like, no, we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna do it. And he's like, no. And she was like, yes. And she's like, okay, I'm done with you. Stop talking. And she starts walking away. He's like, you're always sailing away in the wind. I like that. Like he likes that she's saucy. He likes that she's icy, that she's guarded. He likes that she's this way. So feminines, rest assured, if you think like I'm going to be too strong-willed or like I'm impenetrable, nah, this masculine's going to get it together and come in as a fool and be very humble, because they're okay not running the show. Maybe the masculine tried to control things, and it's like, oh wait, actually she kind of controls it. The feminine really controls it. And that's not in a manipulative way, but it's when you respect and honor the feminine, you respect and honor intuition. You respect and honor the unseen. You respect and honor the intangible things, which means those are things that are out of our control, right? Those are not the things that we can just, fix or adjust manually. They have to be adjusted and healed in a different way. So hopefully there was something in here for you, collective. This is a really fun movie. I enjoy it a lot. And so if you haven't seen it, let me know. If you have seen it, yeah, what are your thoughts on it? if you like this style of reading, I'm going to incorporate these into the new process as well. So I'm going to do collective readings every week that are like this, and then I'll be doing sign by sign readings. So that will be shorter form. So the collective readings will be longer form. And I'm also going to start incorporating career readings, right? Because I do feel like there are a lot of us that we are independent, we are individuals, we are isolated, we are, feeling alone until our person gets it together, until we get it together, until we unify. We have to live. We have to exist in a very 3D way, all right, which is our monetary stability, our housing environment, all of those things. So, we got to work with the 3D as well. So, a little bit of everything. Thank you for everybody staying tuned. 55. Staying tuned through this. Let me clear my throat. And being patient with this process, patient with responses, patient with your sign uploads and everything, because I am on data, and so it's not as quick when I'm moving around, all right, when I'm not stationary, which I'm working on getting there. Aren't we all working on our stability? So until next time, I wish you well.